Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I may say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men for Laredo. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Action Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. I'm here with Mr. Robert Tellez. We're going to touch base on LULAC Council number 12 and his position as a newly elected president. How we doing?
Sir, just got elected yesterday to president of Council number 12 for LULAC. Previously, I had served as the district director, and I had a short stint at the state level. Unfortunately, that election was overturned due to some technicalities, so that led to me running for president of Council 12. And lo and behold, here I am.
You know, well, number one, congratulations on that, because LULAC is a great organization that's, a lot of people do not know what it does, really. Mm-hmm. It raises a lot of scholarships for kids, and it helps a lot of youth out, and it's always been that way for a long time. And especially here in Laredo and in other parts of Texas, you know, because it's a nice organization.
Definitely.
Which way are you seeing LULAC going now?
Right now, I foresee us championing the No Border Wall initiative. I mean, it's nothing against the men and women who protect our borders. It's just a disagreement in the arrangement and the disbursement of federal funds. I think there's better ways to secure the borders, so definitely. And other than that, LULAC 12 specifically is going to have a string of fundraisers that we're planning. We're coming up with a bowling tournament very soon in April, and also during the months of the end of May, early June. We haven't yet set the date. We're going to be planning a golf tournament here at Casablanca Golf Course. So those are something that we're working here locally and nationally. I mean, we're chugging along full threads. It's a presidential election year, so we are definitely pushing out get out the vote. Nonpartisan. We're not necessarily going to be, supporting either candidate. But here in the state of Texas, I was recently appointed to the committee chairperson for getting out the vote here in the state of Texas. So that was another honor that I was given.
Well, you've touched base on a couple of things, and we'll touch base on each one of them, and we'll kind of dissect what you just said, because you said a lot. And I'll go back a little bit with LULAC. I'm proud of you. You know, back in 1994, I chartered LULAC in Irving, Texas. And Irving was a very, very hard because it didn't have LULAC. Either you went to Fort Worth or you went to Dallas. So we chartered the LULAC in Irving. And we started it off, and I was very gung-ho to the point that, we're going to help out Latinos, we're going to help out Mexican Americans, we're going to help out Tejanos that are here. And I found otherwise. There was a lot of issues that are in our face, and it was more like let's wave a flag of the national, because they insulted us nationally. And I'm going to tell you what happened. And we're kind of deviating a little bit from it. Around the time Selena, our singer of the Tejana that we have, was murdered, Howard Stern had made some derogatory comments and made fun of issues, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, there in Irving, in Nimitz High School, I remember if it was Nimitz High School, a young lad was going to school, ninth grade. And guess what? The Irving police officers pulled him out and they basically beat him up and handcuffed him and drug him out. They came to me, being the president of LULAC. We need help. How can we help? I called Flores, who was the state president at the time, and he was involved with Dallas Independent School District. Excellent individual to the day, a great friend. And we talked about, well, we have to get involved. This is going to be happening. A little background on that kid was that his brothers and older brothers were all part of a gang in Irving and Grand Prairie. Kid was a straight A student. Talked to many heads of LULAC. Nobody wanted to do anything about it. They were more concerned about, let's protest Howard Stern than take care of a young kid that this happened to and we needed action now, And I'm a person this is more concern to me than something that some radio disc jockey said. Yeah. Okay? And LULAC didn't say anything. LULAC didn't do anything. I went to the convention they had in Dallas and I said, hey, we need help. They were fighting the Filipinos because the Filipinos wanted to be called Hispanic. Well, they're Hispanics as well, They have to be part of LULAC también,
Spain
You know what I'm saying at that time? And I was like, listen, you guys, where are y'all going? What do you want? And I remember Justice, he used to work at the U.S. Justice Department. His name was Zambrano, a tall guy, remember? He said, Paul, you know what? I have a dear friend of mine that works for it's part of the NAACP. We went over there and that attorney grabbed the case and ran with it. And they did a lot more advocating for that purpose than what LULAC was. So I was very discouraged. But I've seen the work for the scholarships, and that's what bounds me for that, right? So when you said we're getting involved against the wall, should we be involved against the wall, or should we be involved more against, let's bring the wall out of our young Hispanics and produce them into better citizens for the future?
I think that's an interesting point, Paul. You're absolutely correct. But just to deviate from that point a little bit, just to go back to the wall discussion, it's not necessarily as like a cause or civic engagement. It's just a matter of being inclusive with our neighbor to the south, really. I mean, if we want to wall them off and leave them for rot or claim that their government is corrupt and they don't deserve our friendship, then that's not something that I think I would necessarily support. But that's what I believe a wall signifies. It's saying, that's our problem neighbor. We don't want their pit bull jumping over the fence into our yard, so we're gonna raise the cerca 5 feet. I don't think that's the P's and Q's that I understand, but maybe that analogy was a little crude. But going back to that specific individual from Irving, that's very unfortunate that incident had happened. But I think throughout the years, LULAC sort of transformed from that civic engagement, civil liberties fighting organization that you had, that you asked them to champion, into what it is now. It's a mixture of both scholarships, garnering, relationships with corporations, entities that have the means to support the Latino community, and allowing local councils like my council to raise $18,000 and they'll match it 60%. So that's the maximum that they can allow, and I personally love that about it. I've been going back to my alma mater for the last 5-6 years, Alexander High School, and being able to award scholarships. I see the new principal there. He used to be the football coach, Coach Sandoval. He's now the principal there, and I see him, and he says hello to me, and he it's just a good, genuine feeling, and that's really, really where it's. I feel we've been mismanaging our reputation, our image, because we're still seen as that wall fighter, I'd rather be that education fighter for persons' rights is
Me too.
important, but education's more
You know, and let me put it to this way: I'm going to stand up for whichever cause is going to do more harm.
Mhm.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go out there like Don Quixote and chase all the windmills. That's dragons.
Free your own channel.
Understand what I'm saying? So that's a difference. And I think what I saw with LULAC then was, here's a child that's been harassed, beaten, everything by the police
Mhm.
for no reason. And I see there's a discrimination. I felt it. You know, I grew up with them. Many of us did. Many of us here in Laredo have not felt discrimination because nobody has lived abroad into the other cities. But you'll see it once you live outside San Antonio or even in San Antonio. But so you start seeing that challenge. Are we going to be? I'll fight the fight if it's necessary.
Mhm.
But something that is needed is not. You know, security is needed. It's like, oh well, I'm not going to put. And I'm not here to argue or anything, into each your own. I'm for the wall. I'm for the wall for one reason: the drugs and the human trafficking that needs to stop. And until we as a community can stop that and say there is a problem, then we don't need a wall. But right now at this time, we do need a security fence. And until we can find all the strings where that's coming from,
Mhm.
then we need to see all that. And people might say this or that, and it's not about Trump. And I agree, and the first one that brought it up was Clinton, you know, so I'm with him on the wall.
Most
You know
of
what I
the-
mean?
Most
You know
of the
what I
border
mean?
fencing was passed in 05.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Before, you know,
before Trump.
before Trump, I mean, it was a George W. Bush
and
Bush
this-
idea, but Democrats did support it then.
Yeah,
And
so,
it
and
doesn't
so
mean
I
that we
don't see,
support it.
I don't see why it doesn't
Yeah.
fluctuate. There's a difference between security and the lack of.
Mhm.
We all have fences in our houses, most of us do. Here in Laredo, most of us have burglar bars.
Definitely did.
And even if you go into Plantation, some of these areas, you have burglar bars and you have high fences.
Mhm.
So we protect our own. And we don't leave our doors open. We don't, unfortunately, we no longer live with Green Acres with a screen door, you know, and everybody can
Wide
come in.
open,
But, you
yeah.
know, things have changed. We go to Mexico, the walls in Mexico have glass on top, you know. So
They do.
you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know, so we cannot bring that hypocrisy thing. I understand where it's at, kind of like discrimination against Mexicanos, but we need to understand our safety as well.
Yeah. Well, in some places it works, where there's not a physical barrier like the Rio Grande, in Arizona, California, New Mexico in some areas. It works some places, and it exists. It's there now, and there's. I mean, you don't see us tearing it down or going over there and protesting it there now. But there are some places here in Texas where landowners' rights are going to be infringed, cattle industries are going to be deterred, and livelihoods. People have rights to the water there, and you know municipalities fight over water rights, you know, every day. So why would we hinder a private landowner from their rights when we could easily, you know, build infrastructure to reduce the time of interdiction, as I call it, the time it takes for the response, for a sensor to go off in the field and a response to happen. By the time they show up, usually they've absconded and they've gone into, you know, whatever, they've continued on their journey. But in situations like in war zones, mind you, granted, but these technologies are not armed. These technologies may be military technologies, but they're far more advanced than a wall. And I personally, I'm not against security. I'm not against Border Patrol or any other agency that operates here on the border. I have family members that are Border Patrol agents, and they're not monsters. They're not people who I fear or whatever. But I feel that from conversations that I've had with them, not only is this idea of a wall a waste of money, there's technology and everything else that can be replacing it. The Border Patrol right now, from what I've read and from what I've, you know, the research that I've done, they have a retention problem for their CBP agents.
Let me tell you something.
Other
about that.
agencies poach them all the time. They go to DEA, they go to Protective Services for CBP. They can't hire them quick enough. There's a deficiency right now for Border Patrol agents. So I personally think a wall is a shortcut.
We have an excellent security force, okay, and we use them daily in Afghanistan. We use them daily in Iraq. We use them daily throughout the world protecting other people's wall. It's called the United States Army and the military, and it's the best one there is. I would do away with the Border Patrol and stick our military up down that river. They'll do a hell of a lot better job than what is being done now. The Border Patrol is basically done. They're more of a search and rescue.
They do.
And they're doing an excellent job with that.
And that's
I've seen
one
them
thing
in our ranch going out there
Yeah.
and people that are dying, and guess what? They're the
That's
first
one
ones
thing I
to
do want to commend them for. Because
And
the
they're doing an
majority of their
excellent job.
calls are exactly that.
But-
rescues.
But again, we have the best security force in the world that's ever known. It's called the U.S. military. And they're the ones that should be patrolling that wall. And we're patrolling that frontier.
I'm hesitant.
They should
on
not
that
be.
one.
They shouldn't be protecting
Yeah.
Afghanistan for them. You understand? Or somewhere else protecting a wall for many years. Let's do it here. Protect our wall.
I mean, it's a volunteer army. I can
Our
give it that.
virtual wall
Yeah.
that's there. That's what I'm saying. So when people even say, "Well, we have a virtual wall,"
And I want to say that that's a distinction that I think is very clear. There's some persons in the Democratic Party as well who support border security, but not a physical wall. And I think that's the distinction.
you know. So we have a military. Mexico uses their military. They use their military for both the right and the wrong.
I'm a
But
little hesitant.
you know what I'm saying?
I'm a little
So-
hesitant to deploy the military, but I do say we have a lot of local agencies who can also assist and interdict. I mean, I know they're not border patrol agents. They're not federal agents that to enforce our immigration laws, but the technology's there where they can at least scout and find these individuals, especially the nefarious ones who are coming with illicit drugs and whatnot. I understand families, desperate situations. It happens all the time, and I feel for those people. But we have a process.
And the process we have to, and this is where I think LULAC comes in, because you've mentioned the process. Now the process we're going to take that way. I think LULAC should help educate people on that process.
Yes.
And LULAC should be coming up and saying, you know what, you have problems here, and they're in Dallas or in Michigan or whatever, in that LULAC Council, you're having problems with immigration. Well, guess what? We have attorneys here that's going to help you and funnel them that way. It needs to happen.
It's a two-pronged attack.
Understand what I'm
That's
saying?
one of them.
So I'm like, I don't confuse it.
Yeah.
I used to have students in Dallas. The parents were here illegally. They were here illegally. And they spoke better English than many Anglos that were from Dallas. They did not speak a word of Spanish.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay?
they were
You know what I'm
raised
saying? You know what I'm saying?
here. Yeah.
And they were raised here for the longest time. They worked here, did everything else, and you couldn't figure out what they were, how they were doing it. But then later on, now but
Yeah.
when you see that, and all of a sudden now they're saying, oh, they're going to deport me. Now I have to go, well, you all should have done that then. Understand what I'm saying? It's hard.
A mixture of complacency, laziness. The majority of persons arrive here, via airplane, via port of entry, laser visa as they call it. Mexico and Canada have different immigration processes
Sure.
that allow them to come visit freely, crossing the border, but not necessarily work or live here. But the two-pronged attack that I mentioned was that first aspect, education of the migrants, telling them that the process isn't that muddled. It's easier to come and pay an attorney instead of paying a coyote, as they call him, a smuggler, a human smuggler, for those English speakers out there and who don't know the lingo. But the second prong of the attack is to open up the immigration system. Because right now, unfortunately, some might say we're letting too many in, but I beg to differ. I think, and there's an equation here that I like to explain this for work, able-bodied workers versus retired age persons. Our social security system, it's a checks and balances. With this aging baby boomer population and our 1.9 birth rate that is current, I think we are going to a situation where if we're going to sustain the programs, we're going to have to let in more migrants, more able-bodied persons who have their, people say, oh, well, they're going to be a dole on the system. They're going to take away from the system. But I think they're going to
legal migrants.
Yeah, legal migrants.
And you see, because there's a lot of illegals that are here, and I'm going to say this up that might hurt some feelings, that have more benefits than people that are here. And their children have more benefits because they anchored a child here. and they have more benefits than many of the people.
Those
that
children are U.S. citizens.
Understood.
I just make that comment.
But
And
so you have a lot of these people that
Yeah.
have all these benefits
Mhm.
just because they can. The mom's illegal, but the kids they're born here.
the
They have
child's a
more-
U.S. citizen.
Right. They
That
have more.
I must
They
say.
have more help
Mhm.
than people that have been here for many other generations, and that has to stop. I think there's a wash and where people here are kind of
Mhm.
figuring out. Yes, they're U.S. citizens. Yes, we respect them as much, but I think other countries have taken advantage of that.
I respect that comment, but I would like to just, iterate that the state of Texas, I'm not too familiar with other areas, other states, but I am very familiar with the state of Texas. The benefits programs that you're talking about, SNAP and all those programs, they're very diligent in the fraud department on that aspect. And you'd be surprised how many home visits they do, and you'd be surprised how many people they catch that they commit these frauds. But so I wouldn't argue that it's as prevalent as you would have it to be. If I may have that argument to say, I feel that in the end, U.S. citizens are taking those benefits, and I'm going to defend the not the social security system, but the unemployment system. I would defend the unemployment system and SNAP and the programs that help young women
Yes,
have
yes,
children.
of course.
I mean, in case of military readiness, Paul.
No,
birth rates are 1.9. We need to
we-
have kids.
One thing. When you're laid off from work or you're having rough times,
Yeah.
we all as a community to help. And those are the benefits, those are the departments that we as a community have produced to help.
There's some Eastern European countries right now, Russia included, that pays their young people to have children because they understand the need for not only able-bodied workers but military age individuals.
We can probably say that too, because I know a lot of parents, single moms here that have 5, 6, 7 kids that actually get more help than many people that work like you and I.
Well, I don't have any kids, so I don't know. So I don't know, but you're right.
Let's change this subject and move forward. What do you project in fundraising that is coming here for the scholarship?
So right now we're close to our $18,000 goal. We're
Okay.
pushing that threshold. We don't have
Totally
enough,
awesome.
We don't have enough to donate that yet, but we also don't want to leave ourselves without any operating budget that we have. So we fundraise not only for scholarships but also to maintain our we have a lodge that we've had since 1927. LULAC Council 12, just for those who don't know, is the original council in Laredo.
Sure.
In 1927, there was 3 civic organizations that came together across Texas, and they formed LULAC, and we were one of those organizations. So
Sure.
locally, we are a founding council.
Sure. And very proud of that. And
Yes.
we have a lot of great people that have passed through the doors and been LULAC members, and they've done a great job. And it's something that people should help out and support, especially in some of these events that are going forward, and especially if it's going to be used for the education. Folks, there's nothing better than for you bending over and helping out a child. Okay, patting a young man in the back or a young girl in the back and saying, let's go forward, let's continue those dreams, let's move forward. That's what America's for. Okay? And it's for us to produce good citizens in the future. Nobody here is talking that immigration is bad and for people from Mexico coming here is bad. No. We need legal immigrants, and we have to educate our people and the people that are here how the process of immigration is done. That's something that we have failed. And we have failed as a community in general, okay? Because we have great kids that are in there that are in the problem. We have young adults that are in that problem. You got guys that, I was reading a story, it was a police officer in California, all of a sudden they find out that, wait a minute, you're not a U.S. citizen. Wow. But he's already a police officer. Where did he slip through? You know what? Now he's going to get deported. He's an A1 police officer, doesn't speak Spanish. So, these are the people that we have to help because they were brought here as young people.
And no fault to their own.
And they're not at fault, but so we cannot blame them. We have to have a way to help them. And those that are here and those that are coming, I think we should have some type of bracero program that we have. We should start building up on that. I think that's where LULAC comes into play.
I think the key caveat is not just a bracero program, because bracero program is a work permit program, essentially. There has to be a path to become a permanent citizen. That is where because I don't want a person to be sending money back to their family in Mexico. I don't want their families to be stuck in Mexico while the main breadwinner comes and works like it was in the bracero program. Because what that does is that doesn't allow the local store to buy the milk and the eggs. All that money that's going to Mexico to sustain his family over there, the local economy is benefiting from it there. They're buying milk, they're buying eggs, they're buying the necessities they need in Mexico in their hometowns, instead of here united with their husbands or their main breadwinner spouses, here purchasing. I mean, to me it makes sense. The economy would boom if we just
Let me put it to you
increase
this
the
way.
spigot.
We have a lot of Americans that go work abroad and they leave their family behind.
They do.
And I say again, it's the U.S. military.
Yes,
And
they
do
do.
an excellent job protecting other people's virtual walls and their safety. Let's bring them back here. Let's do that. You know what? I'd rather see those soldiers spending money here in Walmart and in our restaurants here in Laredo and in the Valley, protecting up and down all our borders as well as up and down the northern hemisphere as well.
Yeah.
We have the best army to do that. We have the best services. They're trained to do that. They train in all the other terrains. Why can't we train them to do it here?
So you're just saying bring them back, or leave our military bases intact,
bring-
or
bring-
reduce that footprint as well.
Exactly.
Reduce that military
I
footprint
think
in
we
Europe,
have
South Korea.
Exactly. We don't
I
need
mean,
them in some of these places.
We have a new South Korea called Afghanistan. I don't know how long we're going to be there, but
We've been there for a long time. I
the
thought
longest
those-
standing war actually
the
in history.
no, actually Korea, but the
Oh,
problem.
that's right. Yeah, it's still standing. You're right. We're in armistice.
No, it stopped.
It's a-
And the only person that stopped it was that man that's in Washington right now that went over there and shook hands with that president and said, let's stop it. No other president had the will to cojones to go out there and say, hey man, let's stop this.
Stop the war.
The guy wanted a McDonald's, I think they have a McDonald's now. So it's, he's done a good job. But otherwise.
We can argue about that, but
LULAC needs to move forward, needs
Yeah.
to prosper. Do you all have youth councils or
we do.
youth
We have,
programs?
We have two youth councils right now. One's sponsored by Council 7.
Okay.
That's at United High School, and then the other is the other is sponsored by Council 22387, which is a new Webb County LULAC that's been forming. It's a brand new organization, and they're the Webb County Youth of Laredo. And we have the youth groups, and then we have young adult groups. So young adult groups are collegiate organizations, and Council 12 has sponsored. We're going to sponsor them again this year. A young adult council at TAMU, and so they've been active for the last year, and so we're going to help them renew their charter. And so that's something that we do now in the community. We don't have an organization at Laredo College yet, but that's something we're working on. So if there's anybody interested at Laredo College who wants to join LULAC, let us know. Message me on Facebook. I'll get you guys involved.
It's awesome in what it is, because we always go back and forth, but we're dear friends. People out there might not know that, but we laugh a lot, and the problem is that we live in a community that needs people to come down and agree.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Not everything is smelling like roses and violets and everything out there, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, guess what? We're gonna eat for lunch. Lunch is gonna be fried bologna and cheese sandwiches, and tomorrow we might have steak. But we all have to agree.
I mean, there's some issues that we're going to fight
And
tooth and nail, but
the security of our community and our country is A1. We need that, and I think you're in agreement with that. And I just think that, to me, I think we have fallen short. This is me talking. This is my opinion. That we have fallen short, especially with all the immigration problems that we have here. And it's not us as a community. I think Congress for the past 30, 35, 40 years have fallen short. And they've been kicking that ball.
kick the can,
Kick the can. Now you have a man that stood up there and says the can stops here, let's fix this mess. And everybody, it's your fault, you're a racist. No, you guys have been kicking it for the last 30, 40 years. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now you're telling me it's my fault? No, let's fix it. I think that's where the grown-ups need to stand up, and if they don't want to stand up, I think we have to remove them and put new ones in there to say, you know what, let's fix this. But it's Congress's fault for having that lax attitude on the immigration.
In the end, you're absolutely correct. They've been kicking the can, and in this instance, I don't feel as comfortable to give Trump that acknowledgement, but I think the last time that we had a chance for real immigration reforms was in 2014 with the Gang of Eight, and before that was 05, when George W. Bush tried to get immigration reform passed. In those two instances, they failed. You're absolutely correct. Congress needs to act. Congress needs to pass laws.
No.
And I'll be the first one to call President Obama the deporter-in-chief. I've done it before. I've been critical of President Obama. I do prefer President Obama's tenure over President Trump's. I'll call him President Trump, no worries. But it was from the beginning of his campaign that I just wasn't agreeing with the rhetoric and I feel there was a sprinkle of fear-mongering there, that they were trying to pull at the heartstrings of certain-minded individuals that were afraid of that status quo change. And I think with youth and young people, I think we're gonna change that. I mean, I know you said earlier that you were thinking that President Trump is gonna win re-election, but I don't know. I have an inkling of hope, I guess. Maybe Obama talking, but
I think he's gonna win by landslide. If you want to give me that, but are we gonna lose Republicans throughout? Yes.
Okay.
Are we gonna lose Democrats throughout? Yes. There's gonna be a whole change throughout the whole, both in the Senate and both in the Congress. But people that have been there for 30, 40 years, 20 years, playing pocket pool, sitting down, they're gonna be gone. And I think that's what's gonna happen. I think you have communities that are tired of politicians leaving them behind, not secure, and people, both Democrats and Republicans, are going to say, you know what, you're out of here.
yes.
I think this is a year for that. But is he going to win? Yeah, he's going to win. That's beyond, and that's going to happen.
You can agree to disagree.
I'll bet you. But what happens is everything else is going to be different. Here, South Texas, people say, do you want to go turn Texas blue? I don't mind if it goes blue. I just don't want it to go crimson red of communism, socialism in the near future. Understand what I'm saying?
I mean,
there's you want to go blue or you want to go crimson red?
There's a steady moderation there.
But
I agree. I'm a card-carrying Democrat. I mean, not speaking on behalf of LULAC because LULAC's nonpartisan, but what we do outside of LULAC is something different.
Sure.
And I do have to admit that I've been active in the Democratic Party for some time.
Yes.
I don't necessarily, identify with liberal. That's not a term that I mean, in circles I'll say yes, okay, we're liberals, but me personally, I'm a moderate. I'm not going to identify with that. There is an element on both parties that are a little extreme, and that they do not necessarily speak for the whole party, but they get all of the attention from the other side. So you'll see them accentuate issues and drive a wedge. And there's individuals like yourself and myself, and I'll name Jim Belmares as well. You guys are on that side and I'm on this side, and we agree on half of the stuff. But then there's some issues that we just can't seem to make ends, and it's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. We're still friends.
And you see that's the beauty of it. But there is some people that I think the hate has to stop. I think the hate of them going up to an old man wearing a U.S. flag, wearing a Trump hat, sitting down in a park, get beat up because a bunch of people say, we hate Trump. That's a decision. That has to stop.
Yeah.
You didn't see that with Obama. You don't see the kids with Obama. We have to come back and say, you know what, it starts teaching respect. And we have to get our community back into control. Because if that's the way we're going, it's going to get pretty bad pretty quick.
It's prevalent on both sides.
And that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah,
so we
definitely.
have to stop that now. And I think this is a year that's going to happen, one way or another. It can either erupt or it can just melt. It'll be quashed.
Politics has changed so much since the days of gangs in New York. I anecdotally make that comment because, there maybe sometimes you would like to go and get into some physical altercation with somebody, but there's no place in politics for that. You know, you and I, we've always, you know, kidded around, and we discuss other individuals who've, you know, come at our door and asked us for our opinions, but they're not necessarily asking for our opinion. They're trying to break the peace, as they call it. There's a difference between First Amendment rights and breaking the peace and using fighting words. Huge difference.
Our First Amendment says the right to what?
To
Free speech and what? Peaceful assembly.
Exactly. Against our government.
And that we need to understand that. It's not what I say, peaceful assembly. You know, and we have to protect those papers intact. We cannot change them and moderate them, and you know what? No. It's written there, and that's law.
We could pass an amendment, but that's hard.
You know, the only thing that will change the 22nd, make sure that Congress also has term limits.
That
And the Senate. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You also have term limits. And
yes. That would give a lot of young people a lot of opportunity.
You know, and that's the end of the story. But again, I wish you the best and success with LULAC.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Okay, and it is a great organization. I've been part of it. I just stepped back because I got involved with other things that to me was, I can help more youth out here in the field, in the trenches, than out here if that's not what they're going to be doing. You know?
Well, there's an open invitation, Paul, for you to come join the LULAC Council 12.
And they're great people. I know the majority of them, and they're great folks. And I think they've done a great job. And they've stood tall here in Laredo, and it's a banner, it's a beacon.
Definitely.
But I think what LULAC, in my opinion, should start worrying about is now let's get folks inside with helping others that are in need right now of immigration. Let's get it done.
Definitely. Help them find the legal means to defend themselves. I cannot agree more.
I think that's where LULAC should focus itself. That's the fight. Not the wall. That's the fight. That's the bigger fight than the wall.
I agree.
Because the federal government can come up here and say, you know what, get out of here, even if you throw a lawsuit out there. Yeah. And they're still going to put the wall. So right now, the legal fight is immigration. Let's save those people that are here, those good citizens that have come over here and melted into our society.
The deserving ones.
And they need to do it.
Definitely. Can't agree more, Paul.
All right. Peace. Till next time, folks.
Definitely.
Be safe.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.